All right, how's everybody doing? This is Cheech from the Cheech and Manny show, and we have a great show today. We have a special guest, my brother-in-law, Rob Dominguez, phenomenal bass player, phenomenal guy, and a huge Rush fan. Plays in a phenomenal band called East Coast Rednecks. Check them out. And I'm gonna turn you over to Manny. Then we're gonna talk to Rob. What's up, my man?
Keej, what's going on, brother? Life is good on my end.
Same here. Day off from the temple. Hung out with my kids.
Nice.
Played some bass. So let's introduce Rob. Rob Dominguez, bass player,
What's
Rush
up,
fan. How
everybody?
you doing today?
I'm good. Good. Happen to have the day off.
Well, that's good.
Chilling out, having my Xana brew.
Yes,
Nice.
sir.
Good. That's a good plug.
Got my hat on today.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
that is, I didn't even notice that. It's so cool.
And Rush, and Rob is a huge Rush fan. We'll spend
Love it.
countless hours in the kitchen just talking about fucking Rush,
Yeah.
going over, all the albums and stuff like that. So yeah. So anything coming up? Gwen Dominguez likes the thing. That's ironic. She just like one of my things. Um, anything coming up for you? Gigs, East Coast Rednecks, or anything?
No, no, nothing. Just no, we've been writing, looking to record some stuff, but no gigs.
Okay, definitely check out the East Coast Rednecks. Rob's band, phenomenal band. I played shows with them through the years. Great sound. And Rob is a phenomenal bass player. And what bass are you playing these days? 'Cause I know for a while it's like every week we were getting a new bass.
Oh, there's a bunch. Um, Lately I'm playing a Thunderbird like almost all the time.
A
I got
real
an
Nice.
Epiphone Thunderbird.
actual Thunderbird, like a copy or a real
Well,
one.
it's the Epiphone version. Yeah, it's like the '60s version. They came out with the '60s version. I used to hate them, despise them. I know you and I had these conversations for years.
The neck was
How
always,
I hated them.
yeah.
It was a long neck divey, awkward, and then these, Epiphone came out with these copies of the original '60s version,
So the neck
and I played one, like
shorter
fell in love with
and the neck is
it. It's no, you know what the key is? Like I strap it way lower than I used to years ago, and the key to that bass is having a strap low.
like
It
Doug
doesn't feel
Pinnicklow.
not quite, but somewhere in the middle.
You're
But I love the feel of it. I love how it sounds. I'm like obsessed with them.
oh yeah, it's a phenomenal bass. I mean, Alan Woody,
Yeah,
that's
Alan Woody's thing.
awesome. I remember him
So
always.
that's the one I always want to play. But
Yeah,
you know,
it's a little midi, right? A little mid
little
range.
bit, a little bit.
Yeah, cool.
But I like to rotate. I got enough stuff where I like to just
Yeah, we're gonna talk
play
there
different
when we
keys.
interview you. I definitely got some questions.
Oh, I was
So,
gonna say really quick. Wait. So any famous rock stars played the Thunderbird?
oh yeah,
Oh, big time.
Give me
Pete
two.
Way,
Just
your boy Pete Way.
Pete Way played a
Yeah,
Thunder.
Pete Way was the Thunderbird dude. Leon
Leon,
Wilkinson had Thunderbirds from Skinner.
yeah, Leon Wilkinson had one.
I was
Um,
gonna say, yeah, because I seen it on Skinnerd.
yeah, Entwistle. Then Entwistle famously had the Fender Bird, which is like a hybrid, had a Fender neck on it.
Yeah, yeah. They never reissued that as a custom thing.
No, no, there's like no official version.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
a bunch of dudes have played them.
All right. So let me just do a couple of shout outs. First, shout out to the family because Rob is on. Shout out to Jane, Gwen, Jen, Zoe, and my mother and father. Shout out to Potter's Field. We just had a great show the other night
Mm.
at the Saloon. Great room. You could check it out on Instagram. You could see some of our sets on there. And a shout out to Joe Silkman, who, and maybe Rob knew this, on the sampling show, gave us the Led Zeppelin lawsuit, how Muddy Waters sued them in Willie Dixon.
I
So
saw
Yeah,
that.
I wasn't sure about that. So thank you, Joe, for giving us the right answer on that. and we are almost up to 1,000 views. We're
Amazing.
10 shy, which is like, you know, and then in the works, we have Signals,
Yeah,
which
it's coming up.
we did the whole album. And next one after this is Legends in Music with Leslie and Devante. So
Hmm.
I guess we'll get started. And I'm going to talk about 10 albums by Rush that
Hmm.
I bet two of them are probably on our list. Today's idea is the top 10 albums of Rush. We're each going to pick our top 10 and talk about them and why we picked them. So I'm going to say that these 10 albums, about eight of them, but maybe two of them are going to be on your list. That makes sense. I didn't put Grace Under Pressure on here because that's my 11. I just gave it away. You know where I stand. You know where
Oh,
I,
wait. You said Grace Under Pressure? That's in
yeah,
my
That's your
top
honorable
five.
mention.
that's my
That's
honorable.
Your
my
honorable mention.
And I know man, so I didn't put it in here because it's a great, I love
no.
that, because it's not quite 80s Rush yet, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna say Power Windows is not on our list. Maybe for you, Manny. Hold
No
your
power, no power windows.
Hold Your Fire, no. Presto, no. Roll the Bones, no. Counterparts, a question mark. Maybe one of you
Hmm.
guys picked it. See how good I know Rob. Test for Echo, no. Vapor Trails, a question mark. Snakes and Arrows, no. And Clockwork, I always want to say Clockwork Orange. Clockwork ain't definitely on one of you guys' list. I know that for a fact. So let's talk a little bit about 80s Rush. Why some people turned on Rush in the 80s and didn't, didn't, they always went to the concerts, supported them, but they didn't like maybe buy a lot of their albums.
Yeah.
So throw it out there to Rob. Were you a Rush fan when you were 14 in the 80s? Were you buying like Power Windows and Hold Your Fire?
No. So I admit, um, power power windows, hold your fire, grace under pressure, all mix in my mind
Mhm.
together.
Right.
I have trouble like telling them apart. I don't listen to them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't listen to them a lot back in the day.
Right.
That's really the period where they lost me. That being said, like any Rush record, there's gems on all of them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This early warning is a
Oh,
classic. I always put Time Stand Still, I think, is one of the greatest songs Rush has ever written.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the epitome of an 80s like cheesy looking video and everything. But
it,
it's a great song.
I
it's
was gonna
so,
say the video is so cheesy.
yeah, but
It's really bad, but
it's
you
got
know,
Amy Mann is on it, and that's a
right.
Yeah. Yep.
rare.
The only other person to ever be listed on a Rush record.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
no, on Signals, there was the guy from FM who played violin.
Oh, the violin dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
They're not Hugh Sims, the art director. The artist. He did Manny, what did he play on?
He played on was
Something
it
off different.
something? Yeah. I think it was different strings. Was it
Yeah,
some synthesizer line or something?
MP, yeah,
Yeah.
piano. So they
Yeah.
did too, but and then guest lyricist, that weird
Mhm.
that other guy from Max Webster with the weird name wrote
Yep.
Tom Sawyer. So I think for
Yeah.
me, what Rob is saying, a lot of guys, me and Rob's age, because Manny wasn't on planet Earth at that time.
I'll tell you
No.
my theory. My theory is a lot of us, even when you watch like some of the documentaries and you hear from like the famous musicians that are still Rush heads, like Tim Comerford
Yeah,
from Rage.
yeah.
He's in one of the things, and he admits he also lost him at that period.
And
And
Mike Portnoy too admitted that.
yeah, I think a
Yeah.
lot of us that went like real metal,
Yeah,
it just kind of lost us. For me, that was the thing. Like, at that point in life, I was probably measuring everything up to Maiden. So if it wasn't
Mm.
that type of thing,
yeah.
it wasn't.
It's funny because I had bought in Garage Days by Metallica with Newsted's first album, and Hold Your Fire the same day, and I played Metallica. I'm ashamed to admit it. I played Metallica first in the CD player before Hold Your Fire, and I'm
Yeah.
a Rush fan. But I kind of feel like that about Maiden too. Like I lost Maiden like after A Brave New World. You know,
Yeah. You know,
I kind of lost them like you you mix up a bunch of albums in like
Wait, and Cheech, when
you
did
know
that album come out?
2000, I believe, right, Rob?
well,
Oh,
Brave New
wow.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was somewhere around there.
Because remember in the grunge episode, I talked about how Blaze Bailey uh
Right.
joined and
Right.
made him play the Academy.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
were
we were at that
part of
show.
that show, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mike Portnoy was standing right next to
We
us.
hung out with Portnoy that night. Yeah, remember talking to him,
Yeah.
and we actually talked about Rush. Oh, he was such a nice
Yeah.
guy.
He was
Oh
just
my God.
randomly like standing right next to us in the crowd and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, I was drunk enough to
It,
go.
Wow.
it was weird to see Maiden at a place like the Academy, but you're
But
right. You know, you any band like that, you have their evolution and if if they're your band and you kind of evolve with them and sometimes you leave them and
well, that's how I
back
wasn't
to
like that
them.
with Maiden, but with Rush, I stuck it out. I stuck out. I bought, and then Maiden came with that great album in 15 that they kind of for me like oh wow, Maiden came out with you know
Yeah.
like, Tears of a Clown. What's that album?
Oh, the Book of the Dead, Book of
That
Souls, that one.
that is
Yeah,
that.
like I stuck it out with Maiden forever, except the second Blaze Bailey record. I find it almost unlistenable,
See, I love all the Blaze
which I'm
stuff,
ashamed to say because to me, Maiden is like an untouchable thing.
but
But
that
you
has kind of the cross on it, right?
no, that was the first one. The first one
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
bad. That was the one that had Klansman, which is probably the best Blaze Bailey era song that
Yeah.
Dickinson kills.
See,
But
I love Blaze Bailey from Wolfsbane. I was always a
he
fan.
he was all right. It just, it was a thing. But like you said, when you have like a band that becomes like part of your like DNA, you grow with them, and sometimes it's like family. Like
Yeah,
you
Hmm.
move apart. Somebody goes to college, somebody stays home.
yeah,
You move to another part of the country. Stay in touch, send each other a message, and then eventually you come back to it.
always. Yeah,
And for me, I went through that period where I didn't listen to Rush a lot, and then ironically, maybe 10 plus years ago, in my ever going quest to find new shit to listen to.
yeah,
Funny, sometimes the refreshing thing to listen to is the thing you had kind of gone away from. And like I rediscovered Rush and it was like, man, like this is what I like. I was looking for something new and there wasn't anything new. And it was like the old school Rush shit was here. And I just went back on that trip,
yeah, yeah,
got into like the newer shit and still didn't go back much to those three records that we're talking about.
yeah.
But again, it's like it is what it is. You kind of evolve with your bands that you're into, or you don't. Metallica is a good example. You mentioned Metallica. Metallica
Yeah.
lost me into Black Album, and I never went back, and
Hmm.
I have no desire to. Everybody, a lot of they gained a lot of people with that record, and to me, like my joke is always like I remember where I was when I bought and listened to that record, like it was like a tragedy. You know what I mean? You know how people are like I remember when this happened, and oh,
Did I
I
just see?
got an intruder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to
But
voice
you
his
know, you know how
he
like
wants to
I
voice his
remember.
opinion.
He's a Rush fan. That Moy Toy?
Yeah, he
Is
wants
it
to tell you his favorite, but it was the same thing, like the Muay Thai, yeah.
Moy Toy?
Muay
Yeah.
Thai, the Siamese. But like the Black Album came out, and I remember I was in vacation. I was in St. Louis with my family. I made my father take me to a mall because I was like, I gotta buy the new Metallica album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I heard it, and I was like, maybe I need to listen to it a few more times. And then a few more times, and I was like, I really hate this.
Yeah.
And
We, we,
that
we,
was it. And I just never went back. I still respect them,
yeah.
but before the Black Album, I was like a huge, huge fan. But then other
Yeah.
bands for me, like Rush and Maiden, even when they lay an egg,
Yeah.
I'm still back with it,
Always.
you know.
And we discussed it a lot in the grunge episode about Metallica. I think Bob Rock destroyed them.
Yeah.
Bob Rock.
Well, you know, it's funny. The same thing happened with
Yeah, but
Motley
again, it
Crue.
depends who you talk to because
Oh, Rob froze up. You
Rob,
froze.
Rob, can you hear us?
oh, I'm back.
Okay.
What,
Yeah,
what did you say? I missed the point.
I can hear you.
You were saying something when you froze. I said Bob Rock.
Hmm. Maybe he has to
Oh,
look
about
for.
the well, some people tell you Bob Rock made him, you
Yeah,
know.
I
It
mean
depends on the perspective, you
that's a
know.
good point. Yeah, that's so true.
Right, right.
He also produced Motley Crue, Doctor Feelgood,
No, no, and they blew up even more,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know.
He
Yeah.
makes fans money, but takes away credibility. I think. Sorry, Gil. Anyway,
It- no, and I just want to say with it's funny because I'm the youngest Rush fan here, and even I noticed this is just my opinion, but after Grace Under Pressure, I can see how I never bothered to listen to any of the Power Windows, Cover Under Fire,
hold your fight.
uh Hold Your Fire,
Yeah.
Presto, Roll the Bones. I saw it in the documentary, but I, for some odd reason, never bothered. So, Cheech, you recommended some of those albums and I
Yeah,
gave them a listen. And yeah, there are gems on that, but I feel as though this is my opinion, but Grace Under Pressure and some like this classic Rush sound, like I can't even describe it.
I
But
agree. You feel like that, Rob, or you really weren't a fan of Grace Under Pressure?
No, again, I think there's some great tunes on it, and I don't go back to it much. Presto and Roll the Bones are the same, like they kind of mix together in my mind.
Believe it or not, Presto is back to the roots for Rush. I remember we all got
yeah,
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they went back to the no synth, you
Yeah,
know.
they
But it's interesting because I think it was still, I hate to use the word, it was still weak sounding to me. And
that's
whereas
interesting.
Counterparts, which we'll get to probably soon, Counterparts is the opposite of that. Counterparts is like
yeah,
production wise, like a really, in my opinion, rawish, like, you
yeah.
know.
That Pick It Out, the track, that
Oh yeah.
kick ass, and they got into different tuning things.
It's a dark tune. It's like, it's 93 that's clearly being influenced by the grunge era. And it's Kevin Shirley.
Mm,
It's
Kevin Shirley, he
Caveman.
engineered it, not the producer. He was one of the engineers, and I absolutely give Kevin Shirley the credit for telling them. He actually told them their stuff before that had been kind of weak.
Yeah,
The guitars are great on it, the drums are awesome on that.
yeah,
I also think that was kind of where Getty had started. He went back to the jazz bass, and we're jumping the gun on the gear talk, but
mm.
I think
he kind of went back to the jazz bass on that era.
that might have been Kevin Shirley's idea to go back to the jazz bass, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Manny, if you don't know Kevin Shirley, he's like a modern. Is he more of a producer or an engineer or both?
Mm,
I
He's
think
both Kevin Caveman Shirley.
hmm.
yeah,
Speaking of Maiden, Kevin Shirley has done the last few Maiden records.
and he did
He did Black Country
Black
Communion.
Country Communion. So he's kind of like a
Yeah,
Birch, Manny. He's kind of like a
Mm.
Terry Brown, a modern day. Definitely the opposite of a Bob Rock. Like
right.
Right.
But still like, old schoolish, heavy tones,
Mm.
great drum sounds, all the Kevin Shirley shit. Always the drums sound great in modern Maiden records. Like
oh yeah, yeah.
awesome.
All right.
He
Well,
was, in my opinion, a big part of that Counterparts sound.
definitely because they needed to do something because they're stuck in the middle of grunge. And,
Hmm.
what are they going to do? They don't want to like lose do another shitty, I don't mean shitty, but another like keyboard album that's gonna make
I,
people.
I think that's the beauty of Rush, though. I don't think Rush ever really, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I don't think they ever said, all right, we're gonna make this sound like this. I think Rush is they're fans of music as well.
Yeah.
Obviously we know what type of musicians they are, and I think they just take things from what they're listening to at the time or what's out at the time, and they find ways to put that in their records, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
you go back to like Permanent Waves, and you I always hear the Police influence on that stuff,
Yeah.
and they'll
Mhm.
tell you, Neil will say how much he was listening to the Police at the time.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
even with the keys stuff, obviously Getty got caught up in the getting obsessed with keys and
Yeah.
synths and sounds,
Well, he wasn't the
you
only.
know.
Look at Van Halen. Van
Right, exactly.
look at
Yeah.
that, and they got into Right Now, and and they took on different producers, and but that was the sound. That was the '80s. Unfortunately, that was a big part of the
Keyboards.
Yeah.
that whole thing. So I think what lost a lot of people was, the synths. For me, and like I said, I bought every album. I loved every album. I'm not
Right.
they're bad.
Well,
I'm not.
well, Cheech, when you mentioned the synths, so this is the 80s. Now, do you both think they won other fans because of the synths? Like new fans?
Maybe. I mean,
Maybe. Rush is weird. Rush has always had like a Rush fan base
Yeah.
that's
they
kind
never
of
way
their
like
own thing.
you know. And Getty said on some albums, some people went away, and then some albums, some people came back. He goes, that's how it worked for them. I think he said it in the documentary.
Mhm.
And
Right.
maybe for a kid like who's younger than like Rob, maybe a little kid or something who's just watching MTV said, "Oh, I like the synth band," and
Mhm.
they come up in a genre of synth rock sometime if you put it in.
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't like Emerson, Lake and Palmer
Right.
keyboards, or of like
Right.
Yamaha,
Right.
which I liked. Like I said, I'm not gonna knock it. The thing that turned a lot of people off, less concepts. There were no more concepts. They're not
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Agreed.
Yeah.
until we go into Clockwork Angels. That was
Right. Well,
you know
I was gonna say, Cheech, most of that. So I listened to Power Windows. I listened to Hold Your Fire,
yeah,
Presto, Roll the Bones, and yeah, what I found that there was a lack of concept that they had in the original albums because all their albums, like I told you with Grace Under Pressure, like the reason, and just spoiler alert, it's in my top five, but the reason being, I know that's controversial, but it is one of my favorites because of the concept behind it. Like the lyrics get dark, and
Which
Getty
one?
is singing Grace Under Pressure.
Oh, okay.
And he's talking about themes that were really relevant at the time. So like
yeah,
Cold War and all that, etc. But yeah, they sound like single albums.
yeah.
Power Windows,
Well,
they
there is a concept. If you go back to Witch Hunt, and then you go to what did we say? Witch Hunt, and then it's a trilogy. Oh, Vital Signs, and then Enemy Within.
but that ends on Grace Under Pressure. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Like
Yeah,
Grace Under Pressure is the last concept
the
album,
last
and then afterwards they become singles albums or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
much, lack of concepts, less instrumentals too. There's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
any instrumental until Snakes and Arrows and Roll Your Bones. There's only two instrumentals that they have,
I just think
and they
also and if you listen to Alex Lifeson talk about it, his frustration at the time, there
Hmm.
wasn't a good place for his guitar. Like those
Yeah.
yeah
albums don't, I'm not saying they have, terrible guitar tones on them, but it's very different. It's less rocky. He's now trying to find his space in that
yeah.
synth saturated world. And being they are who they are, and clearly they look like they barely ever argued, which is I'm sure they did at times. They also famously said they would only do shit that all three of them agreed to do.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
that was their philosophy throughout. So I think he
Mhm.
was a team guy, and I think he might have been frustrated at
Because
his
Eddie,
guitar at the time.
yeah. Well, there are some great solos like Big Money. That's a
Oh, absolutely. But I'm just thinking
Yeah.
as far as like
yeah.
why people were turned away from that. For me, that's part of it. There's just,
I
I
you
agree.
know, it's
I
very
agree.
I hear
chordy,
that.
very
Yeah.
twangy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and there were no more like we said no more long songs. There were no natural
No.
songs.
Yeah.
Wasn't
And there's too many drum pads.
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say,
yeah,
you know what's funny? Those Rush albums sound like some Cheech like the and Robbie Fight like those later 80s Genesis albums. Because I don't
yeah,
like 80s Genesis. I love Phil Collins, like I respect him,
yeah.
but I
They're
don't like
that bad. Like when it came to
right.
sports.
Oh right.
Yeah,
They're still good. Like Rush's
yeah.
80s output is yeah, it's not as bad as Genesis 80s.
Yeah. And they got more commercial in the best way,
Yeah.
but at the time they were still geniuses. The songs are
Yeah.
still great,
Oh,
great.
no doubt. I'll never take that from 'em.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
genius. They did, and they still could sell out Madison Square Garden.
Oh yeah.
Had a shitty album that
But
didn't.
that's the beauty of Rush right up until the end. Like
Yeah,
even some of the other albums that may or may not be on your list that are later on records that might be more straight ahead. There's genius level shit on there. It's they always found a way to show
rough.
you what they can do because you've heard it.
Yeah, yeah. They were always creative. You know.
But
You
Hmm.
they'll
know.
give you flashes of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Right.
They'll put little bits and pieces that'll remind you who they are and
Yep.
what they're capable of doing musically.
yeah.
Um,
Like,
but then it could be more straight ahead.
I'll give an example of Big Money. You listen to the bass line in that fucking song. It's
Hmm.
ridiculous. It's insane. You
Oh
know.
yeah.
I mean, every bass line. So where's Mrs. Doubtfire?
So we are at 5 minutes, 30 seconds.
All right. So why don't we talk a little bit before we interview Rob and give the top 10 in the next segment. Getty's basses. So on the first album, 1974, when that album came out, Getty
Yeah.
used my
Yeah,
favorite
from the P bass.
my favorite bass of all time, the P, and it is a great P bass sound, like Working Man, all the shit he's
Well,
doing.
first off, there's never been a shitty bass tone.
Never, 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 never.
Like there's never been a shitty bass on a Rush album ever, no matter what bass he's playing, and no
Oh,
matter the technology. He
true.
just was always perfectly in the mix. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And you gotta, that's all Terry Brown too. One of the greatest producers. So he
Oh
used
yeah.
Fender. A great example is a song called, that song, Rob, Before and After. All that shit he does in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
19 years old, for Christ's sake. It's like, God.
yeah.
Great. So then he turns that P bass into a teardrop bass, which I don't
Oh,
know why, but
it's a crime.
it's a
It's a crime.
it's a crime.
Wait, why is that? Wait, why is that?
I don't know if anybody knows why Geddy
I,
Lee.
I to this day don't know why he did it. He didn't mention it in his book at all. Like he really didn't get into the gear. You know, it's funny. I have his bass book. I wonder if there's something in there. You know, his big beautiful book of bass.
Yeah,
I wonder if there's something in there
I
about
do, and
that bass.
because he went from playing not a lot of basses to owning like fucking a
Right.
billion basses.
Hmm.
So the teardrop bass he did play during Hemispheres a lot. I've seen pictures. Then he got the Rick, 1970
Right.
Rick, which is
The Rick was prominent for a while.
yeah, from Fly By Night to Signals. And that's
Yeah.
that's Geddy Lee.
The jazz
Sorry,
bass though, the jazz bass is in moving pictures a
it
decent amount.
yeah, he bought that in a pawn shop. It's a 72.
Yeah, I
And
have a fantasy about that. One day I'm gonna walk into a pawn shop and find some
he
really
bought
cheap,
he
good
bought it
shit.
for $200, he said. Imagine that. And I think he used that on moving pictures on Tom Sawyer, Limelight, and fucking YYZ. I think, he
Wow.
used the
Jazz bass, yeah, I think so.
phenomenal sound. Then he went to an odd bass called a wow. Am I saying it right? Wow.
Wow. Yeah, whale, wow.
English bass. He used
Mhm.
that. Well, I skipped over. We'll get
You
to.
skipped over the Stein.
Yeah. Uh, I'm not I mean, you played a Stein. I played a Stein. I don't get it. It's like
No, I don't get it either. But again, he pulled it off.
he
It
did.
sounded great.
Well, that's because, and I have a list of his amps too, because he's going through Ampegs and Orange amp.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so then he used the Stein on one album only, Grace Under Pressure. He probably hated.
Mm.
Maybe he was like, "Fuck this," but it
I
was.
don't know.
He said it was easy for him to maneuver because he had so much shit. Sometimes
Right.
I
Yeah.
he would crash his bass into his keyboard and get out of tune. Sometimes he had some.
Mm.
Then the what?
I think he used the wall for a while, right?
Oh, a decade easily.
Yeah, he used it for a while.
Yeah, up and
English company.
up until Vapor Trails, and then he went on to use Fender Custom Shop stuff, which
Yeah, and then he went back to the jazz. So I want to say around counterparts, he
Mhm.
he went to the jazz and then almost exclusively used the jazz bass after that.
yeah,
Some
but
form of a jazz bass.
yeah, the custom
Maybe, maybe
stuff.
not his number one, but he always talks about the number one. Like Fender, when Fender made the signature model, they they wanted to full blown like do a measure out his bass, his number one, and
Yeah,
like do a full analysis of it. He wouldn't let it leave his presence. So the Fender custom shop people had to come to his house
yeah, yeah.
to do all of that shit. The neck
Mm.
eventually went because originally it was a black binding maple neck.
Hmm.
And the neck eventually went, and he had Fender Custom Shop make him the one that's on there now, which is like the pearl blocks, white binding.
I wonder if Steve Harris's neck ever went on the original.
I don't know. I don't know because if you look at it closely, the Fender logo is gone on Steve Harris's bass.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like rubbed off on his. That's how you could tell his original one from the copies.
yeah.
It doesn't say Fender anymore.
Because Harris did that. He was playing a bunch of copy
Yeah,
Fender.
but Getty's, that's his number one. Fender Custom Shop apparently, broke the thing apart and measured everything about it, and
Yeah, yeah. So he
it
was
came
playing.
out.
Okay. So just want to throw it out there that for me, you two are awesome bass players. I'm not a bass player, but I always associate Getty with that famous Rick, especially on the music videos for um Exit Stage Left
Yeah,
and particularly Free Will, where you just see him rock that
going banana.
iconic Rick.
Yeah, you know, one of the
It's
greatest.
it's interesting because
Go ahead, Mark.
sorry, I cut you off.
So you can go ahead.
I'm saying it's interesting that he's such a Rick guy because he's a finger player and like the Rick is usually not a finger player bass.
Great.
It's an awkward bass to play,
Yeah, I
but
own.
he rocked it for so long.
Now on your rig, did you take off that big gigundo metal fucking plastic, whatever the
Yeah,
fuck?
the one I had didn't have it. Yeah, the one that I had already had it taken off before I got it, and then I got rid of it like an idiot.
I
I wish I
I
still
bought
had it.
I bought a '77 Rick when I was about 17, and Giuliano. Remember Giuliano's? And Giuliano's and White Plains.
Yep.
He knew I was a P bass guy, and or a jazz P that I had, and he was like, "You sure you want this bass?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to sound like Geddy Lee." And Geddy Lee talks about it in that interview. I've sent both of you guys an interview that when you plug in a Rick, it doesn't sound like Chris Squire. It doesn't have that.
No.
A P bass will sound like, turn the tone down, you can sound like Jamerson. Crank up the punch, you sound like Harris. It's just how the nature of a
Yeah.
bass. But the Rick, you got to EQ it. And it was a great fact that you brought up Lemmy, another Rick bass player with a phenomenal sound, genius sound. So a funny story at the end of Rush's last tour, Snakes and Arrows, people were having signs. Where's the Rick? Where's the Rick? Holding up signs, and the roadies made shirts that, that said, "Yes, he's playing his fucking Rick tonight." He only did it, got
Oh, that's amazing.
you know. So why
Well, if
don't?
you watch that R40 tour, he broke out 1 million bass on that thing.
Oh, when they go back
On
to,
the R40 tour. Yeah, the
yeah.
R40 tour, he's switching out, man. Awesome.
So we'll watch out for Mrs. Doubtfire on this.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
let's
Golden
start
Ale.
interviewing Rob.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
you
Cheers to
want,
that.
you want to take the questions for the bearded man?
Oh yeah. Well, would you start off first? I'll let you do since I'll let you do the honors.
Okay. Well, I know everything about him, so it's
Oh, okay.
I have a few questions. So
We'll go back and forth. We'll do like two or three back and forth.
yeah. So how many bases do you own, Rob? Because every time I go in your house,
Oh,
I fall over bases.
I actually don't have a count. Um, that's a good question. I should probably count. I don't know. My wife will get mad at me if I answer with an actual number. It's a lot. I'll say that. And
Yeah.
then, they vary in like I have some cheapy stuff, like I have some, and then I got a couple
Cheap ones was
gems.
sounded really cool. I remember the cheap one you had. I was in love with. I was like,
Which one?
yeah, it was a cheap base, and I couldn't stop
I
playing.
like modding shit. I like modding shit out. So like I have a couple that are builds. They were like Frankenstein builds. There's a local luthier around here named Chris Matos, 812 Guitars.
He's great. He's yeah,
He just built a couple for me, like where I brought him all the parts. He built me like a jazz. He built me a P bass,
nice.
and then I have shit modded. Like I have like a Harley Benton, which is like this European music distributor. It's like their house brand. And the thing is beautiful. It was like $190, and but I modded it. I put like the Marzios in it, and
Yeah,
so I like doing shit like that. But then the jewels are my '76 jazz bass, my actual
yeah.
1976 jazz. I have a '93 Music Man. Those are probably my two
Blue.
most,
That's the blue one.
yeah, like teal.
Remember
The
the musician? You still have that?
which
The
one?
thing one, the musician, Ibanez.
Yes, yeah, it's an '84 musician with all the
Oh,
stickers and
yeah.
shit all over.
I had that one
Um,
for some reason.
yeah.
Okay.
Those are like my three gems. Those are probably worth the most. I have an American Fender P bass, a purple one that I modded, put a jazz bass neck on it, and I have a quarter pounder, and I got a mirror. That's my like homage to Steve Harris.
Right, right, right.
Um, like my Thunderbird,
Yeah.
my Epiphone Thunderbird is my new one. I got another Epiphone. I got a couple Schecters that are kind of awesome. I got a PV Zodiac, which is awesome.
Not the Rudy Cars.
I got a lot of shit, like a lot of shit. Oh, I got a Geezer Butler Lakeland, which is
Not.
one of my other gems.
Nice.
Was up there on my
It's a geezer model.
yeah, it's purple. Purple's my shit. So if I find some shit in purple,
That
so it's the purple Geezer model. The
talk.
Geezer model is a great story,
Yeah,
real quick, because you remember back in the day when, like, I remember back in the day, I going to Caldor when
yeah.
I wanted to date myself, and like when I was super into like toys and shit. And back then, if something was priced wrong, they had to give it to you
Right.
at price. You know what I
We
mean?
know about that.
Yeah, and like I remember there were times where I actually would be slick enough to change the label myself. And so the geezer Butler bass, brand new, is like probably like a 1,400 $1,500 bass.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at Guitar Center used.
Right.
Guitar Center has a great used site. They list everything in the chain
Right. Right. Right.
on this site. You go in there by brand. So every now and then I'm looking around. There's only few things I look for because my holy grail is a PVT 40
Yeah.
bass, like a late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
So I always look at PV. I always look at like a couple things. I don't go down the rabbit hole too much. One day I decided, let me see what Lakelands they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see it there. I know it's a geezer because it's purple. It's got the geezer EMGs in it. It's
Nice.
got black hardware. I know it from looking at it, but it's not listed as a geezer. The geezer's like a 40, it's like a Lakeland 44-60 GZ,
Right.
right? That's the model. Not listed as that. I go, holy shit, that's a geezer. Somebody had taken the black pickguard off and put like a gray perloid, and they had it for like $4 bills. Now
Wow.
used these things are over
Eighty
a grand.
four
There's
hundred.
new, they're
Damn,
like $1,500.
that's
So
amazing.
I'm like, that's got to be a geezer. The store was in Washington State.
Wow.
I'm sitting there, I'm on my phone. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I go, oh, wait a minute, Washington State. They're like 3 hours behind us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call them. I call them. I get a guy on the phone, and I'm like, you got a purple Lakeland used up on the wall? He goes, oh yeah, let me go grab it and check it out. He gets back on the phone and he goes, this, he goes, purple, saying it's purple doesn't do it justice. He goes, this thing is purple. I go, what's the condition? Is it cool? Is it, yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it. They had no idea what it was. That means the person that sold it to them, A, is an idiot
Yeah.
because that means you let them rip them off.
Yeah.
And the person that took it in, B, is an idiot
So there's
because
no
listed
giant
it.
teaser on it. There's no, except for the pickups.
No, no, there's not even a signature, I don't think, which is like the Harris and the Getty Lee on the
Yeah.
fenders have signatures on them.
You knew
This
from
does, it's just, but I know what it,
the EMG pickups was a giveaway.
what was that?
The EMG pickups.
Yes. And the purple,
Yeah.
the EMGs and the transparent purple.
Right.
So I pull the trigger on it, got a Guitar Center card. It's like interest for 6 months. It comes in the mail. Whoever was packing it dropped it
Oh.
because I get it, and it's got a big, like the back. Luckily, it was on the back, like a big finish crack.
Ah. Man.
And I'm like, bro, I'm like, this shit wasn't like this. The guy from Washington literally spoke to me over the phone,
Yeah.
and he said it was all good. So they're like, oh, they knocked off like $150, which
Wow.
is exactly what Matos charged me to fix it. So
Wow.
he fixed it. You could tell something is different back there, but if you close your eyes and feel it, you
Yeah. Yeah.
can't tell there was a crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got a geezer for like dirt. It was like I felt like back when I was in Caldors buying GI Joes.
That's an amazing story, dude. Now, do you have
Yeah, it's awesome too.
you have the Getty Lee pedal? The Getty
I
Lee
do have a Getty Lee,
Sans Amp?
the Tech 21
Oh, text.
Sans Amp. I have the moving pictures limited edition one, which
Okay.
is cool because the art is like the moving pictures art,
Right. Oh,
and
wow.
Oh wow.
they all the Getty pedals have like a little caricature of him drawn on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the moving pictures one is his hair is different and he has a skinny tie.
Oh, wow. That is
It's
so.
friggin' awesome.
Oh, that's
And it,
Yeah,
amazing.
and it gets that Getty sound. It definitely gets that moving picture sound.
it does. It does. It's a cool pedal. I'm a big Tech 21 guy.
Yeah.
I have a pedal board now after years of vowing that I would never have them. But I used to use a Sans Amp Tech 21 pedal for years anyway, just that.
Yeah. The
But
Doug Pinnick one for years too.
the Doug Pinnick one is my one, and it's on there. So the Getty became redundant. So believe it or not, I actually took it off the board.
Yeah.
'Cause I just figure out I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm never gonna get rid of it. But I'm in
Yeah. The
love with the Doug Pinnick pedal.
Doug Pinnick one is ridiculous. Such a great pedal. Oh my God.
It's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's the one I use most of the time now. I rarely use the regular Sans Amp is still on there, but
Yeah.
the Doug is the one I use all the time. But the Getty pedal is great,
Um.
which
Re-
which goes to his gear. If we're gonna talk about his gear,
yeah.
he stopped using amps.
Oh,
He
that's
just
right.
became a tech.
He went through the PA.
Yeah, and he just became a Tech 21 preamp guy from like the early 2000s on.
Man, he isn't that crazy. I forgot about that. So he wasn't using an
Well,
amplifier.
Getty wasn't using
no,
an amplifier.
if you look at any live stuff from the early 2000s on, that's when he started putting weird shit in the back, like washing
Yeah,
machines,
Oh yeah, oh
and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
like
at one
rotisserie.
point they have like a rotisserie chicken thing, and he stopped using amps. He's going straight to the house, and he started using Tech 21 preamps in like the early 2000s. I think the RPM was the one. It's a version of their Sans amp preamp. And then finally they went to him and built him the Geddy Lee, the Ged 2112 preamp,
Yeah.
rack mount, and then they built the pedal off of that.
Wow,
Thousands.
that's
And
amazing.
and and you hear it. We didn't get into the top 10 list yet, but like you hear it on the later records with the bass tone. That's all Tech
Oh,
21 shit.
and you heard it on that. Really, you hear it when you sent me that rap thing he did with like Run DMC.
Oh yeah. The Hall of
I sent
Fame.
you that.
Yeah.
What a bass sound. Oh my God, it's so powerful. And then I'm at
Yeah, that's Tech.
a question. I just got one. I wanted to bring up. I wanted to tell Manny, who's that band again? You turned me on to where they sound like Rush. They have a chick singer,
Oh,
and
why not?
Manny, you got to check out Why Not. I
Yeah.
keep.
Right now. Wait, why not?
Yeah, they.
Why not? It's spelled just like that. Not. So
Nice.
why not? They are predominantly, you don't want to call them a Rush tribute band because they write originals, but they play all Rush shit and originals. And the originals are really good. They're in a Rush vein. There's some of them like very poppy. They always have a female singer. They're on like their
Wow.
third
I like the
different one at this
I like the first singer the best. The
January I saw them.
black hair. She had like black hair or something like that.
Yes, I like the second one they had that I saw live with them. She has her own band. She lives in Nashville. Patty Purcell is the name. Her band is like Patty Purcell and the Mayhaps. She plays bass actually and sings. They're like a
Oh,
little like bluesy trio.
nice.
She was their singer when I saw them. She didn't record with them. Now they have another singer that they're gonna record with. But their stuff, if you're into Rush, their stuff is worth it. The bass player,
He's
Tim
amazing.
Sriracha, is amazing, and he's a Tech 21 rep.
Right.
So he works for Tech 21. So you'll actually, if you YouTube him, you'll see a lot of videos of him demoing all the Tech 21 shit. But all he plays, he's got two jazz basses, two Getty jazz basses, and two Ricks.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
Egg and Tech 21 shit.
Never seen him with the Rick. I've only seen the jazz bass ones.
He's got a black Rick and a white Rick and like two jazz basses, and he alternates, and he's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
He's
they're
so good.
so good. Man, do you have any questions for Rob?
Yeah, so I guess let me so I think I asked this to Cheech, but so Rob, how does Getty influence your bass playing, or has he influence? Give me the rundown.
You know, I had the good fortune of having older siblings, so I grew up in a house that had records. So as I'm growing up, there were like I can't stress that enough because my brother, my oldest brother moved out. I'm way younger than everybody's, but my oldest brother moved out relatively. I was still relatively young. My closest brother to me is 9 years older than me. He turned me on to a lot of shit. And yeah, my sister actually, I think, was the one that was originally into Rush. She had seen them on moving pictures.
Oh wow.
I
I
didn't know.
stole her freaking parking lot t-shirt when I was a kid.
So Juan wasn't
But
a
it
Rush.
was it was awesome because he was a little bit, she was more, I think, originally.
I know he was a King Diamond fan.
It was awesome to just have records there.
Yeah, awesome. And you froze up a little bit. So you would listen to
Sorry, my bad.
your brother's records and stuff like that. I remember you always telling me.
Yeah, I remember like back to that conversation of like you remember where you were when I remember when we dropped the needle on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Like that shit changed my life.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like because I was equal parts terrified of the cover
yeah,
and in awe of it at the same time, and then like terrified of the lyrics.
yeah, yeah,
And that's why Sabbath Bloody is my fucking record. Like
yeah.
but
Great.
I remember him putting it down and the song dan coming on, and I had never heard
Yeah.
shit like that. I don't even know how old I was. I've been young.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it was the same thing with Rush. For me, it was we had moving pictures in the house. I still have it on
awesome.
vinyl, and we had Farewell to Kings,
Hmm.
and I have
Nice.
a special place, Farewell to Kings, because I think I probably heard moving pictures first,
Yeah.
but there was something about Farewell to Kings, the weird, creepy jester, and the billfold on the vinyl, and Getty had these really weird fucking sneakers on in the picture.
I didn't even. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
21,
yeah, they wore some weird clothing.
2112's horrific. I was
They,
petrified.
they were terrible
Oh
clothes.
gosh, terrible.
He had these big white sneakers on that they look like they had like a D, like the Detroit Tigers
Wait,
logo.
wait, wait, wait. I saw a
Like if you
picture of
Google it and
that.
look it up, you could probably find it.
Oh gosh, he looks terrible.
70s, you know. But
But and that was the thing. So like my thing is like 70s Rush was like kind of what I started with,
yeah, yeah.
and
Still
like I
right,
got into,
you know.
yeah, there's that whole 70s production. I always say, to me, shit, nothing beats the 70s
Mhm.
Oh,
when it comes to what records sounded like and
oh yeah.
bands sounded like.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking the 80s because the 80s in their own way were awesome, but like
Well,
there's
it goes
something awesome about those 70s Rush records,
and I could tell you,
and like,
I think it's technology, it's analog. Once analog switched to digital, it was a change in the
yeah,
music, you know. And Rush talks about that on Signals, the analog kid, the
yeah.
digital, the metaphor there,
Mhm.
which
There's
is
something extra digital, yeah, New World Digital,
yeah, so it's crazy.
yeah.
But
But there's something awesome about analog prog. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like like analog recorded prog has a whole nother thing to it,
Oh,
yeah,
whole
I'd
nother
agree. I think
vibe.
Rob, you probably definitely listen to them. Yes is Closer to the Edge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Has that sound you're talking about so unique.
I mean, just
It
base.
really is. Some of those 70s records.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Zeppelin, Sabbath. I mean, Geezer had
Oh
a
yeah.
different every album. Geezer had a different tone pretty much every album, up to Never Say Die.
yeah. And it wasn't
John,
always great. It
John,
wasn't always great.
John Paul Jones goes from the first album where he's on the limbic bass on Presence. Like the development of these
Yeah.
guys,
Mhm.
unbelievable. So, how are we doing on Mrs. Doubtfire? Because I know we want to get to the top 10.
We are no, we're still good.
I didn't, and I didn't really answer the question fully as far
Okay.
as Getty goes.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, playing bass, like I was never gonna be a Getty,
Well, I was gonna say,
and
wait,
I
wait, wait,
and
wait,
I
wait,
I,
Rob,
I don't
Rob,
I never
Rob, I
learned
got a
to love
follow-up
it.
question on that. So I think you would agree that, and Cheech too, that Getty is one of the greatest bass players. So how do you see yourself against him?
Of
Like,
all time. I'm not a pimple on Getty's ass. Like
Nobody,
he,
nobody.
you know, yeah, I've never tried to be like I don't know. Like he's always. I can't say he hasn't influenced me because he has, but I don't learn a lot of covers and stuff. Um, I think he's influenced me tone wise, more than anything. Like I want to always sound like that. I want to be up front. I know I'm never gonna play like him, My guy was Steve Harris. I always kind of wanted to be that. Um, and then later Pinnick. I want to be somewhere between Steve Harris and Doug Pinnick. Doug Pinnick is doesn't do anything crazy complicated, but he's awesome. And
Manny,
like, I'm a song guy, so I just want to do what's right for the song,
right, right.
Mm,
I think,
and Getty does both.
Manny, I think I turned you on to King's X. Uh,
hmm
that's Doug.
hmm
If you're not familiar with
Hell
Doug,
yeah.
incredible bass player, and
Yeah.
he's like dad's age. I follow him.
Yeah, right, right.
It's like he's
Which is insane.
and
But
he's long arms in music. And I gotta say one thing. I bet you me and Rob have the same three top favorite bass players. I could be wrong. Jocko, Geddy Lee, and Steve. They would be
yeah, probably.
in our DNA. Like we just worship those guys.
Yeah,
Um,
and Geezer. Geezer's my other guy. Like,
I
Glenn
was gonna
Hughes.
say Cheech, Geezer for you too, man, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Glenn.
Geezer's. If anything, I see myself as more of a Geezer dude because I think the way I play is more like that.
Mhm.
But it's the beauty of Geddy Lee and Rush because I don't think people give Rush enough credit. They always say Prague, they're a Prague band, Prague band. Rush writes good songs. They
hmm
might not be radio songs, they might not be totally pop songs at any time.
Yeah.
Rush knows how to write a song. Like I was saying it before, I'm a song dude. The song thing to me is more important than anything. I've never been into solo guys. I've never been into Vi,
Right.
Satriani. They're great. I'm never gonna knock them. They do amazing things. They were never part of a band. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I like bands and songs. To me, it's all about the song. And Rush, some people might argue it, are about the song. Like, sure, they're gonna remind you that they could do shit that you could never dream of doing, but
Right.
they're doing it still in the context of a song. Even the fucking instrumentals are songs. They're
Yes.
hmm
brilliantly
Yep.
crafted songs.
Yep.
YYZ is a great example of that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
exactly. And but at the same time, Closer to the Heart. Closer to the Heart is one of the greatest songs ever written. It's 3.5
Uh,
minutes.
I was gonna say probably one of the greatest rock songs and songs of all time.
It's
Easily,
great,
easily, lyrically,
great,
musically,
beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
a 3.5 minute
Mhm.
song.
And the bass line is sick. It's
Oh,
Oh,
of
it's
course.
amazing. It's amazing.
you know,
Yeah. And but that's the beauty of Rush to me. I think that's why you always go back to Rush, like you can get caught up in that, but they have great tunes, like from the
yeah,
beginning of the career to the end of their career.
exactly. From Working Man to Clockwork Angels, man, they're just
Mhm.
and there's a progression and bands that could progress and get better and better and better through the years. That's important.
Mhm.
That's what makes a band.
Right.
You see it in Zeppelin, you see it in
Yeah,
Rush,
right, right.
Sabbath. You see the progression. And Rush did like 18 studio albums, which is like amazing. So
Yeah.
one of the greatest bands. So any more questions for Rob? Or I'm you gonna say something?
So choose just so we're at 6 minutes and 50
Oh,
seconds.
do we have time to do one more because we're gonna have to do top 10. You got time,
Yeah,
Rob?
yeah. Rob, do you got time?
Yeah. I've got nothing. I got no work tomorrow, nothing.
All right.
All
Oh,
right, we'll do one more.
isn't it Rush Hashanah?
It's
Well,
Rush
yeah, Rosh
Hashanah.
Hashanah. Yeah, we didn't
Rush.
get to the top 10.
Remember the Rush Hashanah back in the day? Um, but let me ask you about the lawsuit basis since we got 6 minutes. So you have an Ibanez Rickenbacker lawsuit base, and it's pretty much
Yeah,
Backer.
pretty much. Like the pickups are a little bit different. It's a bolt-on, not like a set neck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like identical.
And
Somebody modded it for me, I think.
uh-huh.
The bridge pickup is a big old like a one of the DiMarzio humbuckers with like a coil tap switch, which is freaking killer. But
Wow.
like Burton did that. Oh, speaking of Rick guys, we
Cliff
didn't
Burton.
mention Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton started as a Rick guy.
A
Cliff
lot.
Burton, if you look at his Ricks, he's got a humbucker in that neck position.
Yeah.
And so my copy has like a DiMarzio humbucker in that neck position, which is awesome.
But Cliff Burton didn't use a Rick. He used the Rick only on the first album. Then he went to
Then
another
he went to the area pro.
Area Pro. I think he used that
Yeah.
in the bulk of his career, but he had a Rick. I had the same.
Yeah, probably.
I had that red Rick, a 1977
Wow,
Rick that I bought, but I couldn't slap on a fucking
awesome.
Rick. I was like,
No, you can't.
you know, Rick James just had a picture of the Rick. You know what I mean? I don't think he actually played
Right.
it.
I doubt he's playing it. I'm curious to what Rick James or if Rick James even played bass on that record.
Yeah,
But I remember on the cover, Rick.
I know. And a Rick, like the Rick, and me and Manny talked about this. A Rick is a rock bass. You can
Mm.
only rock on it. You can't funk out on it. You can't slap on it.
Pretty much.
You can't play jazz on it. I remember that's why Giuliano said to me, "You sure you want to buy it? Because I know you have you're a Fender guy and you like all different kinds of music." I couldn't walk on a Rick. I couldn't play reggae on a Rick. You could just
The
play rock.
cool thing, the cool thing about the Ibanez Rick, it doesn't totally sound like a Rick,
Right.
but it still has like a weird, different tone.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's awesome. I gotta get it. The neck is a little shot, so it's getting worked on.
I'm
I
surprised.
haven't played.
I'm surprised you never got a Roadstar.
Oh, I would love a Roadstar,
That
like a Steve Harris Roadstar.
Yeah, the one like I have that I haven't broke out in about 20
Well,
years.
there's the Steve Harris one, is the older one than yours. The one that he's playing in Run to the Hills.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be a Roadster.
Oh, is it a Roadster or a Roadstar?
There's a subtle difference. There's Roadsters and Roadstars.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think his is a Roadster,
yeah,
but I've always wanted one of those.
yeah. I played it
You
for
go down the rabbit hole.
the only reason why I don't like my Roadstar is it has 24 frets, and that fucked my head up. I couldn't. I was like, what the fuck? I only like 21
Yeah.
frets.
I never get that far up the neck for me to notice.
Like,
I
wait,
rarely go past 4.
I was.
So
I can't play a high D. I can play an F sharp. What the? I don't know. That's why I don't know how guys play like 6 string basses and stuff. That's insane. Like the guy in Dream Theater, all he played was a 6 string. Never was a fan of. I'm a fan of listening to it, but I think
yeah,
playing.
it's a weird thing. Even a 5. I had a 5 for a little while. It's just odd. But
But
some
that's
people are into that
yeah. Would you use the 5 in Mercury Bath?
for a little while. Not
Yeah.
not for long.
Rob was in a fantastic band back in the '90s.
Mm.
Mercury, Manny, phenomenal band.
Mm.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm trying to get my former band members to put the shit on YouTube.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
Good
We
idea.
shows together. I was in a band. I was in so many bands that played with you. Funky Espresso, Deeper for
those are the
Meltdown.
days.
Those were the best days, and there were places to play. There was a music scene back then, man.
Yeah.
We had to
Well,
follow. We all had to follow,
Seven
so
Wills Street is shit.
you know. So and
Wait, and
now
Cheech, just, no, and Cheech, just speaking, now there are no music scenes. So I don't know what Devontae's talking about.
maybe for young kids that are DJs and that kind of stuff. But
That's
like,
not a
Do you
good.
watch Rick Beato on YouTube?
we just
We're
talked about
huge fans. We're huge fans of his channel.
Yeah, he did a whole recent video about how there's no more bands, there's no rock
No,
bands anymore.
and
Yeah,
it's true, dude. I'll be honest with you.
yeah.
When I see
Rick
last
Beato's the
summer
shit.
ago, oh, I love Rick Beato. I think she's you're a huge Rick Beato
Awesome.
fan.
yeah. I just like I knew who he was, but I just recently been heavily getting in. We've been going back and forth, me and Vanny,
Yeah,
and he had a heart attack about 2 years ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Amazing.
awesome. He's awesome. And Professor of Rock. You ever watch Professor of
Oh,
Rock?
oh, dude. Cheech, have you watched Professor of Rock?
No.
Okay,
Professor of
you
Rock
need.
is cool
He's really
because
cool. He's like my new favorite.
he'll
Wow.
do like a random, like he'll talk about a specific band or a specific
Yeah,
record,
yeah.
Yeah.
and like he'll just do a whole like 20 minutes on that, and Sometimes he just
Yeah.
does a song, like how this one
Yeah.
song became.
No,
Yeah.
and he
He's like
breaks
a
it
nerdy
down, which is
looking
crazy.
dude. He's bald. He's got glasses. Wears a weird little hat. But
Yeah. I
Professor is awesome.
Rick Beato rips apart the new shit. Like he'll go be like the top 10 on Spotify.
I
You know,
love those
Yeah.
videos.
he
And
hates
he's
Taylor
right. No, but he's right too.
100,
Dude.
right?
He did a cool video though. Willow Smith, Will Smith's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
She put a new album out. It's actually very interesting. And he broke down one of the new songs off her record because she has Mohani Day play on it. Have you heard of Mohani Day?
2, 1.
So Mohani Day is this she's a like Indian bass player who's done like a bunch of session stuff, a bunch of different shit. So she's on the Willow Smith record somehow, and Beato did a whole breakdown of like this song. There's like a video out for it because it's this awesome, not what you would think of typical like shitty kind of pop music thing. It's like got odd time
Cool.
signatures,
Hmm.
and she's a beast. Look her up, Mohani Day. She's friggin'
Mohani
awesome.
Day.
And
Yeah,
that's
she plays
all.
like a 5 or a 6. She's like a
Wow.
killer.
And
Wow.
Beato loves that kind of stuff when he finds a gem.
He
Like,
he broke this whole song down, and I watched the video. I'm like, holy shit, this is a Willow Smith song. I was like, it was very cool, but he did a whole thing about it. Like he was super impressed with it. But
yeah, and he's not impressed with anything in it.
anything new, that was his point. He goes, this is
Hmm.
like a new pop
You know,
song.
it just sucks. Like going back to scenes, like the scenes are gone. Like they just closed. They closed Joey's, Manny. I don't know if I told you.
Wait. Joey's
He's trying
in
to
Portchester.
what
he's trying to
happened?
reopen it. I don't know. Nobody knows what happened to it.
Yeah, and that was like I played there every Tuesday and Thursday night for a year and a half. It was a scene. There was people. It felt like the old days, and it just sucks that that there's like bars like that are closing, it's a wonderful you know bar, and it closed. So there's really not a scene anymore, and I think that sucks for a lot of bands, especially original bands. But
Yeah, hopefully he'll come back.
I hope so because that was a great room, a great guy.
Wow.
So and he was bringing like live music back to Portchester, and it wasn't like Garcia's is an awesome bar in Portchester at the Capitol, but
Yeah,
they do more of the hippie stuff, and that's cool. But they would have special metal nights and stuff.
Right.
This was like from reggae to original bands to
Right.
one kind of stuff. So
Oh, I didn't know they closed. That's so sad.
yeah, so. But that's the thing about scenes, man. Me and Rob were lucky enough to grow up in an era where there were scenes. We used to play at 7 Willow Street.
yeah.
That's a huge bar, and in Dorchester you had 3 bars. You had the Beat, 7 Willow Street, Marty's. You can rotate that.
Yeah.
Every have 3 gigs.
Hmm.
Now it's like good luck getting gigs and stuff. But anyway, so why don't we jump into our top 10?
Let's
Because
do
we
it.
at the beginning just doing some wonderful chatting about Rob's bass playing and Getty's basses. I love it.
This is a heavy bass episode.
Oh, this is
Yeah, you going on about that.
I love it.
doesn't get better than that. So, Rob, you want to pick your top 10?
All right, I'll
Rob,
go with my top 10.
Rob texted me, "Oh, this is a hard one, man. I don't
It
know if
was
I."
Oh,
it was very
I was
hard.
struggling. I was
Initially,
struggling.
like the first few were like no-brainers, and then I hit a point where I was like, holy shit, like even up until today, I'm thinking of switching
Right
order of
now.
stuff. Yeah, up until like this moment. But so you just want me to list them out?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll each share our list first, and then
yeah.
we'll discuss.
Okay.
All right. So number one, I got Farewell to Kings. I alluded to it before. That was like my record. That was the one that kind of got me into everything. That's
Hmm.
70s Prague Rush. Um, you know, freaking Closer to the Heart, Cygnus X1, Xanadu, um right off the rip, even though I'm a bass player now. I started off as a drummer when I was a kid, but I was always a lyric person, and
Yeah,
I was into reading lyrics always. Maiden, Rush, and the early on stuff was just I would sit there and listen to the record and read the lyrics, and that was the beauty of Rush to me was and Maiden, for that matter. But
or
you get the historical stuff, you get the literary stuff, and then later on you get the very personal, introspective, contemplative Neil Peart stuff. And I don't think he gets enough credit. We always talk about his drumming and who he was as a drummer.
Hmm.
But holy shit, to me, he's one of the greatest lyricists that rock music has had. And unfortunately,
ever,
not many people, other people see that.
Well, you know why? Because he's so intelligent. He uses Shakespearean
He's to you're right. Not
prose.
only not only is he one of the greatest lyricists in rock, he's one of the greatest brains in rock.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
don't think the
Rob,
guy finished high school,
no,
No.
Rob.
which is
So in our
insane.
on our show, I think Cheech, we argue that
Yes.
he's
Yeah,
probably if he did not go into drumming and rock music, he would have been one of the greatest philosophers, like really
absolutely.
intelligent.
He's brilliant. So I start with Farewell. That's my number one. Very close second is Moving Pictures.
Mhm.
And again, those I spoke about it earlier. Those are the two that we had on vinyl that were heavy rotation when I was a kid. Um, for number three, I have a tie. I know this is not orthodox, but I have a tie because I couldn't break them apart. I got Permanent Waves and 2112.
Hmm.
Um, and Permanent Waves, shit, you guys did a whole thing about it.
Yeah.
It's Permanent Waves. Like it's a happy sounding record is the best way I could describe it.
Hmm.
When you hear Permanent Waves, it's like a very uplift, it's a very cool vibe. Just Spirit of Radio right off the rip.
Just,
Um,
just that intro, the bass and
just
drum.
the intro, just
Oh gosh.
everything about it. Like again, lyrically, it's so cool. It's just it's got the prog shit in it. It's got the hook in it. It's got the radio shit in it. And then for me, the other tie, 2112, arguably the album that put Rush on the map. Um, Funny about my story with 2112 is we didn't have that when I was growing up in the house. Everybody knew about 2112. I super got into 2112 when I was in high school, and I was in ninth grade in high school, and the marching band, we had a trip to Toronto, of all places. And on our downtime, we got to go to this mall in Toronto, and there was like a music store, and there was all these cheap cassettes. And I bought 2112 and Caress of Steel. And they were like, back in the Walkman days,
Yeah.
That was
2112 was
amazing.
high, high, high rotation.
Yeah.
And it was just the shit.
I
Like,
don't know. You just made me think of a memory. Me and Rob I played in the high school band when I wasn't in high school.
yeah. He was a ringer. They brought him in for like a stage performance to play bass.
Rob played Rob drums. It was like where was that? Boston or Philadelphia?
Yeah, that was Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know, I just got a flashback. That
Yeah.
89, I think, or 90, something like that. Oh
But
my,
the for me, the Toronto trip was like 88 or something like that. And like that was my discovery of 2112. And now the crazy part is as good as side one is, side two is friggin' brilliant. I
So
don't
we
think
always say that on the
anybody
show.
I don't think enough people talk about side two.
Uh,
Um
Yeah.
Something for Nothing is one of my favorite Rush songs ever.
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Musically and lyrically, it's fucking awesome. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
so those are my tie for number three.
Okay.
Well, obviously we jumped to five. Five is gonna be I put Clockwork Angels up there.
I knew it.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
Knew it.
Clockwork Angels is I know they weren't thinking it at the time because I don't think they were realizing that they were recording their last studio record.
Right.
But as a last studio record of a musical career, it's the perfect exclamation point
It is.
for a band like
Hmm.
Rush. It's a concept record again, but it's not just a concept. It's so deep. There's a lot there with the story. There's the main, there's anarchy and chaos and
Clockmaker,
fascism versus anarchy, and the main character's in the middle, and he kind of goes on his journey and he kind of sees good and bad, and then he just settles down and lives his life, and then you have like freaking the garden at the end. Brilliant record.
the throwback to 2112, I think.
It is, but it's its own thing.
It is.
And talk about like gear and modern technology. It is one of in my opinion, the greatest produced records in the history of Rush. The bass tone alone is just killer.
And this is just a fun fact. Do you know what label they were on? On that
No, actually.
fucking Road Runner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Shit.
they were on Road Runner, the same label that fucking King Diamond was on.
Right.
Road Runner had picked up on a bunch of prog bands like Yes signed to Road Runner, Emerson Lake,
Shit, I didn't know that.
and they even had fucking Deicide
Right.
and like all these I think Motorhead was on Road Runner for
It's the same producer I know as Snakes and Arrows. It's just it's modern Rush and old school Rush.
Mhm.
It's heavy Rush. It's mellow Rush. It's I don't know. It's everything. That record is so much on like my heavy rotation like of listening to. I listened to it today again actually. And it's the epitome. Once again, I wish I worked for Tech 21 or I was endorsed by them because I'm like shouting them out. It's the epitome of Tech 21
yeah. Oh yeah.
bass tone, and like his bass tone is so good on the
Oh,
record. And vocally, like, Getty can't sing that high screechy shit that he used to do back in the day. But his singing is awesome on this album.
yeah. Oh yeah.
His voice has obviously changed through the years, but like he killed it on it. And I have the novel and the graphic novel. I haven't read them yet.
Yeah.
But I love it. So that's my number five.
Yeah.
The rest of the list is get sketchy because I've been flipping stuff up until the last second. So I have Signals at number six.
Mhm.
Signals to me was an awesome follow up to Moving Pictures. It's leaning in the world of what would become what we talked about earlier
Right.
with the very 80s synthy Rush, but it's still very much rock Rush.
Rock. Yeah. Rocks.
Classic record. Here's where I could like I could switch them right now. I initially have Fly By Night at seven.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First Neil record. You
Yeah.
hear the beginnings of the prog,
By
but
Tor Snow Dog.
by Tour and the Snow Dog,
Yeah.
you have that awesome what I was talking about before, that awesome like 70s analog,
Right. Right.
but like
Mhm.
prog analog.
Warm album.
Yeah, and it's awesome,
Yeah.
but it could easily be flip-flopped by my number eight, which is Snakes and Arrows.
Wow.
Snakes and Arrows,
You stumped me. I did not think you would have picked that one. I would have thought
Snakes and Snakes and Arrows may be Neil's greatest lyrically written record in
gotta
the
revisit.
history of Rush. Snakes and Arrows is such a personal record. And for me, it hits home in so many levels. It's like a very contemplative record. It's a very like kind of finding your place in the world type
Yeah.
of record.
Yeah.
Um,
When it came out, I listened to it like crazy. I loved that guitar solo that Alex does.
the production on it, I love.
Yeah.
It's got that modern aggressive tone that
There's
that
like
Network has.
instrumental guitar solo, I think I remember.
There's three instrumental tunes, which I think it makes it awesome.
Yeah.
The main Monkey Business,
Yeah, that's
Malignant Narcissism, and then you have that acoustic guitar one.
that's the one I'm talking about without yeah.
That's shit, I forgot what it's called. Hope.
Yeah.
But you got tunes like Far Cry is like political like prophecy.
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
tune. You got all these spiritual type of themes, working them angels, um, armor and sword.
Yep.
If you just break down the lyrics of that tune and
Yep.
it's such a brilliant record.
It
We
really is.
Hold On, my favorite, Faithless. Read those lyrics.
Hmm.
Um, where he gets into kind of his own weird spirituality and what he believes in. And then the beauty of Rush in general, and I read this in a lot, I don't remember where I got it, but Getty would contribute to the lyrics in that how he sang them, the melody, obviously, but
Yeah. Crazy.
also sometimes he'd tweak words. So
Yeah.
sometimes he'd tweak a pronoun here and there, and he would
Right.
make it, he'd had the sense of like, rather than this being such a personal Neil tune, he'd tweak one or two words that would make it now something that the rest of us would read and be able to connect to.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think that's brilliant. But Snakes and Arrows, I'm telling you, I could flip it with Fly By
I'm
Night. I really
surprised.
could.
I did not think that would be on your top 10. Wow.
I freaking I love that. I love it as a record.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It hits me on so many levels. And again, I think it's his greatest lyrical work ever. I think he was getting
Mm.
into he was past the initial coming back from all the tragedy in his life and the Ghost Rider shit and the Vapor Trails record.
Right.
And now he's in a better place and he's kind of contemplating like where your role is in life and
Yeah.
where you fit in. And Armor and Sword talks about how your childhood and
Yeah.
your initial armor now turns into a angry flaming sword and shit. And it's freaking I love it. I really do. So that's my eight. Could be my seven. Could have flip-flopped with Fly By Night. Number nine for me is Counterparts.
I knew it. I knew that was.
Mm.
I think Counterparts is a brilliant record. I love they went back to the heaviness.
Mhm.
Again, lyrically, it's another brilliant record. Um, it's got some dark tones in it. Nobody's Hero, I think, is one of the greatest songs I ever wrote.
Oh, that's right. Their friend who died from AIDS.
He left it off of that, and there was
Yeah.
another part in there about this like tragedy of some family he knew, their daughter, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant song. Alien Shore is a awesome,
Yes. God, you're bringing me back.
awesome, awesome, awesome tune lyrically. But again, the music of it is great. I love the tone of the record. I love that they went back to like kind of really, more rock type of stuff. Double Agent isn't a very introspective type of our different
Yeah.
roles and how we Speed of Love. There's hookiness on that record. There's a lot of kind of cool hooks in that record. Speed of Love you have. Um, Between Sun and Moon is awesome. So that's my number nine. And then 10, I got Hemispheres,
Mm.
which
Right.
the last real proggy concepty stuff before
Yes, that's what we said.
yeah.
Hey, I told you, man. Rob he's
I
one of
love
us,
it.
and
No,
he's
Yeah.
and now I need to listen to Counterparts, Snake and Arrows, and Clockwork Angels.
yeah.
Those
Listen,
three.
listen to Snake and Arrows, but like read the lyrics while you're listening to Snakes and Arrows.
Yeah.
Because again, he doesn't get, in my opinion, nearly enough credit for how good of a writer and a lyricist he is. What an insanely intelligent guy, considering again, he didn't graduate high school.
I know. He worked in his father's farming store.
Right. But all he did is like read. And like
Yeah.
Gene
Yeah.
Simmons would make that joke when they toured with them. He goes, I was trying to get these guys laid and they were just in their rooms reading, you know. And it's like, it's
Oh
it's
man.
he's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. I know we always talk about his drums, rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, Neil connected like on so many other levels, and he was always the introverted guy. Whenever there were meet and greets, it was always Getty and Alex, and
Yeah.
Neil would stay back there. He wasn't comfortable with that shit, and I get that. He was a personal
Oh yeah. Yeah.
guy, but considering what he dealt with and the nightmare of the shit that he dealt with his
Yeah.
daughter and then his
Yeah.
wife and his whole Ghost Rider driving, tour, like the dude was an amazing guy. It's just um you're blown away by the fact that he's friggin' dead, which is,
So fucking sad.
still to this day kills me because I almost think he was too good for us and he just wasn't meant to
Yeah.
freaking reach old age. But
Yeah. They
no.
take the wrong people, man.
Listen, I talk about it all the time. Somebody texted me. Henry was the one that texted me.
Yeah.
When he passed away, I was driving home from work. I was on the highway. I had to fucking pull over.
Oh yeah. I was crying
No.
like a baby. Zoe, wrong with I
Right.
actually I stayed in bed for like 2 days. I was like sick, literally fucking sick.
I
So
had to
sad.
pull the fucking car off the highway, like
Yeah.
like this was a guy that I somehow personally knew, which I don't.
We did. We know him through his lyrics, bro. We knew him. That's the thing.
Right. And that's and that's really the brilliance of a band like Rush. It's we're geeky type of people. Like I'm a geeky, nerdy type of guy. Like
Hmm.
the joke is always they're the nerd geek type of band.
That's the fun.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. Fuck it. Like
Yeah.
they knew who they were and they were very upfront about who they were, and you were either along for the ride or you weren't. You
Exactly.
know? And that was that. So
Well,
I always had that piece with them from when I was young, even though,
yeah.
like I said, I lost them for that little bit of time. But when I kind of rediscovered them and got hardcore into them,
Yeah.
I love that later stuff, which is why some of the stuff made my top 10.
Yeah. Great selection, man.
Hmm.
I'm surprised in a few. I love it. Manny,
Yeah, I knew I was gonna have a few
you got me.
surprises. Vapor Trails I love because of the whole if I have an honorable mention, maybe that's one because the fact that they came out of the hiatus and not
Yeah.
know if they were gonna exist anymore.
And they
And
kicked
you
ass.
you just open with the one little victory and it's like holy shit. Like,
Unbelievable. They just came at you.
yeah, that's another friggin' great one, but
Awesome.
those are my 10. I'm sticking to them. Like I said, I could flip steaks and houses if I want to,
But
but
all
I'll
right,
stick to that. That's my 10.
cool. Manny, where's Mrs. Doubtfire?
We're still good. We're
Oh,
still
good.
good.
All right, so you want to throw your 10, Manny?
Yeah, I'll go mine really quick. I think at this point we probably talk hours on Rush on our other episodes, but so I think mine is pretty standard. I'm surprised Rob put a lot of like new Rush, which is crazy. Nobody.
I'm real surprised. Although I
I
kind of
love
figured
I,
it out.
I love
Counterparts.
New Rush. I love newer Rush.
And I know Cheech, you talked about Counterparts too. Like it's a great album
It's
because
a
getting
phenomenal. Yeah,
influenced by grunge. But so mine's pretty classic. So I'll go top to 10. Self-titled debut Rush can be its great old 70s rock music. And
What
Working
about
Man is a great song.
are you
Great
going?
song.
You're going number 1 to 10 or
No, no,
10?
no, 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 10 to 1.
Okay.
So number 9, Caress of Steel. I actually love Caress of Steel. And again, and
thought
I know that's
I
a
thought of putting that on there because I think it gets a bum rap.
oh no, it gets shitted on. And the thing is, it's a misunderstood. I think we talked about how
I told you
misunderstood
I
this
bought
album
it when I
was.
bought 2112. So I was listening to both of those fuckers
Yeah,
constantly in the Walkman and
yeah,
like I'm going bald and
yeah.
was fucking great and
Oh, that's a great
just the
song.
whole Fountains of Lament
Oh,
and
God.
shit.
The Necromancer.
Yo,
Freebirds, man.
right.
No,
Like,
and I laugh at the Neil has a spoken word part.
Yes.
It's just so it's funny, but I love it. Like I'm like, wow, he'll perfect that later
It's almost
on.
like a Zappa record.
yeah, it's like that.
But I will say Bastille Day, amazing
Oh,
Oh,
song.
fuck yeah.
That I think I know that's your favorite song. I'm sure
yeah,
Rob, right? It's like that's
They
an
were
amazing
they
song.
used to open with Bastille Day after that,
Yep.
right?
Yep, they opened up. Well, it's on my top 10. All the World's a Stage opens up with Bastille Day.
Right, yeah. I left live albums off. I did straight studio.
I did too. I know Cheech, you included it because the connections with you, but
Yeah.
yeah. So Crest of Steel, number 8, and I told Cheech this, Rob. I love Fly By Night. It's probably if it's so like this list is not permanent, but Fly By Night is probably their best pre 2112 album. It's just my opinion. Um, Neil's on board, and man, he just the whole sound of the album is amazing, and his drumming is really amazing as well on that album. Seven Signals. So
Yep.
not gonna mention too much there because we did a whole episode. Six, 2112.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, this is controversial.
Oh,
I had it top, but I was like thinking, you know what? No,
Grayson,
I gotta. Number 5, Grace Under
knew
Pressure.
it.
I
Oh,
love this album so much. And the reason why I love Getty singing on it, I love the lyrics, a little more darker. I think it's one of the few times where the synths and guitar actually really blended well together.
Good
Right.
point.
Because I agree with Rob, because later albums, it kind of sounds awkward. At that point, I actually forgot any like Alex Lifeson guitar parts on like Power Windows
Yeah.
or Hold Your Fire.
yeah.
So great album. Number 4, and this is again now these 4 would have fought for the top spot, honestly. Uh Permanent Waves, Free Will is one of my favorite songs of all time, one of the greatest songs of all time. Rock, pop, it's catchy as hell, proggy as hell. It's just lyrically amazing. And the rest of the album is just amazing as well. 3, Hemispheres. Now, originally I had this on my top spot. But it went down to number 2, but A Farewell to Kings. So
Mm.
for some odd reason, this is my favorite album, and all for the reasons that Rob shared. But I love the song Xanadu.
Oh, yeah.
Something about that song I love
Oh, yeah.
so much. I listen to it once a day because I love it. It's like what it's I think it's one of probably top contender for one of the greatest Rush songs and greatest rock songs of all time.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just a beautiful song. And then number 1, I went basic, Moving Pictures. I think this album is and Chichi and I talked about it, Rob, where we broke down why is it amazing, and it's not a shocker that it became their best-selling uh
Yeah.
album.
You and I flipped our 1 and 2. It
Yeah.
could easily be moving pictures, but I
Yeah.
went for the personal piece where I just think
Hmm.
as a kid I had more of a connection to Farewell to Kings. I think because of like Xanadu and Cygnus X1 and
I'm telling, yeah, yeah,
I I think it's Getty's best bass sound in
which
yeah.
one?
moving pictures.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bass, I mean, compared to
Wait, Cheech, do
Not
you
that there
think
was
that's
ever a
because of
bad
the
one
digital?
before that.
Oh, no, no. But Cheech, do you think because of the digital sound or recording techniques, or because they?
Getty started to really get into listening to Jeff Berlin and Jocko. So there's like chorus. He's using harmonics. He's
Yeah,
using Fender jazz. He's doing things different. So it's a different Getty out bass sound for Getty. It's distorted, little bit more
yeah,
distortion on it than you.
yeah, yeah. It's got a little bit more aggression
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the tone.
one of my
That was a little studio record, right?
all the studio. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Oh, and we talk about that in I guess I moved moving pictures. That was the first no permanent
yeah.
was the first studio album. But Manny,
which one?
those
Moving Pictures.
the studio was permanent waves is when they
Uh,
started for it.
Yeah, Moving Pictures and Permanent Waves, right?
Yeah, all the studio.
Yeah,
They did that for like 10, 12 years. Have you ever seen the documentary?
yeah. Like April Wine did. They did a
I
record
love
there.
rock. Yeah.
Yeah, they got their video there. They did that record there. That
Police
place was
Ghost
awesome.
the police did Ghost in the Machine there. I mean, it's a
Mm.
big studio, like a lot of bands, like Electric Ladyland of Canada. But those are all great, man. What was your number one? Moving Pictures?
So okay, I will admit. So actually, just think about it. I'm gonna switch things live. Um, Number 1, actually, I'm gonna go for my personal pick, and this was originally number 1, Farewell to Kings. Number 2, Moving Pictures. So
Oh, look at that. We got a matching 1 and 2.
love it. All
So
right, Cheese, your turn, man. You're up.
yeah. You know I'm old school. So Number 10, I'm gonna go 10-1. Rush's first album. Gotta love it. Um,
I thought about finding a spot for that. I
it,
did.
Before and After is one of my favorite songs on that album. If
Yeah,
people know that song, and then Working Man.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. There's a
that's a
dude on the
temple.
Mets, Pete Alonso on the Mets. That's his Walk to the Plate song.
Working Man.
Yeah,
Wow.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
pretty awesome.
Blues rock, very Zeppelin guitar tone, very Zeppelin vocal sounds.
It's funny because you read a lot about that record and people are like, is that the new Zeppelin record?
Yes, they thought
Yeah,
in Zeppelin, yeah.
And it's like, I can see that, but at the same time, it's not Zeppelin.
No,
no,
no, you gotta,
no, no.
but you hear the Zeppelin influence definitely on there.
Mhm.
Um, great Fender bass sound, amazing Fender bass sound, and
Real
yeah,
weird fun fact. I've gotten like back into vinyl in the last couple of years because of my daughters, believe it or not. But and collecting vinyl. And I don't need to go down another rabbit hole of collecting shit. I have like a collector mentality, hence the bases and all the other shit that I own. But I don't go back into Rush. I only stick to a couple of bands with the vinyl. But the cover that the Americans got for the first Rush record is miscolored. That pink Rush.
yeah,
It's supposed to be red. The
never.
original Canadian pressing is red. The Rush letters.
You have one? Did you?
No, if you find one of those shits are worth hundreds of dollars, man.
Ow!
Wow,
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
the US pressing just came out like pink. Like I read somewhere in one of the books where they joke about it because they're like they didn't plan on that. Just fucking came out shitty. But the original Canadian pressing, same exact cover,
Yeah,
the
just
Rush letters, they're just red versus ours is pink.
that's fucking
So if
nuts.
you could find a red Canadian vinyl pressing of that record, it's
Right.
worth a
Wow,
decent fucking money.
that's a great fact, man. My number 9, All the World is a Stage, just means a lot to me.
Had that on vinyl also.
On a personal album, yeah, personal level, and it sums up the first album of a blues rock band to a prog rock band. You can
Yeah.
see where they go.
Hmm.
Oh, they became
Hmm.
a prog rock band because of Neil. Uh, and I would probably say, you know, just the opener, Bastille Day, and then
Hmm.
in the end, it's like amazing on that album. They just do such a great job with that. Number 8, gotta say, Caress Steel, from the artwork to the necromancer, 3 villagers, men of Willowdale.
Dude, that is it's such a Rush moment. Like I'm sure every Rush fan loves that part.
They were smoking the good shit. They
Yeah.
admitted that on that album.
And you always got to give the knock to the listen.
Oh yeah, that's right. That
Yeah.
weird drum solo thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
then there's like he's like I think the recording is like three different pitches of
Yeah,
someone
yeah. Dear
yelling.
Getty, like
There's a high one. There's like a real high one, like a middle one, and then the low one.
what the fuck? But I love it. Their first sign of being a prog. I mean, they're a prog band. They
Oh,
be
that was
Hmm.
the epitome of Prague.
Epitome.
That was like we
Inaccessible prog, but yeah.
yeah, we put this shit out and it bombed and it was like,
oh
you
yeah.
know, so strange.
Number 7, Permanent Waves. You guys summed it up. The new wave, the reggae feel. The Police influence. Free Will has like the greatest bass solo in the middle of it.
Hmm.
Natural Science. It's proggy. It's commercial. It's rocky. There's new wave influence. That's my 7. Number 6, Farewell to Kings. Rob just said it all on it. Xanadu. I think it's the best keyboard solo. That
Hmm.
that and Subdivisions, I would go neck and neck as far as the best keyboard solo, but it's up there. You know, uh, what more could I say? You guys summed it up. And Closer to the Heart was like a hit. It was on the radio.
Oh, such a good song.
Hmm.
Five Signals. I just love that album. A lot of cool keyboards. Like I love Countdown. I love that song for the
Hmm.
the NASA samples that they put in there. And I love the idea of going from the analog to digital. That's basically what Neil's saying, analog kid to digital man. And we talked about this. We did a whole episode on Signal. Hemingway losing it. And we shot himself in the kitchen, and Neil wrote the fucking poor guy's story, about his last moments.
Right.
Fucking sad, but great song. The Signals. Number 4, Hemispheres. The whole concept, the whole Nietzschean concept.
Nietzsche,
left brain,
yeah.
The right brain, the Greek mythology, Apollo, Dionysus, Book of Tragedy, and then of course side 2. Who doesn't love the trees? The trees,
the trees is easily one of the greatest songs.
And
It's amazing.
Circumstance. Yeah. What a great song. Fly By Night, number 3. Like you guys said, it's still like a little bit of the first album. It's a blues rocky, but by Tor and the Snow Dog, and you're like, okay, I know where they're going with this. The song called Best I Can. It's a blues rock song, but then you got By Tor and the Snow Dog, Fly By Night, another radio friendly hit, which was really good.
Did you ever hear the story behind where that whole By Tor and the Snow Dog comes from?
Wasn't it with
It was one of their, I don't know who in their management had a picture of their 2 dogs.
Right.
And like one was like an American Eskimo and like the other one was some other dog. And he just came up with By Tor and the Snow Dog based on this guy's picture of his 2 fucking dogs. I swear to God. And there's whole thing, you look it up, and he created this whole like sci-fi like epic on like but it was based on this guy's 2 dogs, like the picture he had in his office.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He must have been smoking something.
Well,
right.
What about you? Just
because you think of like when I first heard it, you think of like By-Tor as this guy and he has like this dog, but it turns out it's 2 dogs. By-Tor, biter. Get it? Like bite you, biter, By-Tor, and the snow. They're 2 dogs.
Well,
so like originally you're like, oh, it's this guy and like his snow dog, and they're fighting whatever battle. It's actually 2 dogs.
Test for Echo. There's another song about a dog's mind, or something like that.
Yeah. Gee, just to warn you, 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
Oh shit.
But we'll conclude on your list.
Moving Pictures. I already gave my explanation about that. Greatest bass sound, and then to me the greatest concept album of all time, 2112. 2112 for me that's Rush. When I think of it, that's my favorite album. So we got 1 minute. So Rob, thank you, amazing guest.
Rob, thank you
for having me.
You brought a lot of knowledge to the Manny and Cheech and Manny show about Rush. We'll definitely have you back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm down. Let me know.
The top 10 Rush songs.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a difficult one. And no, we still have to do a discussion on also our picks too, which we'll do in our next episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me know. I'll be part of that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Rob, for your knowledge. This is a lot of fun. And then we have Legends coming up. Well, we're gonna record with Devontae and Leslie, and we did a whole one on Signals, which is gonna be really
coming out pretty soon. Yeah.
You gotta do a lot of fun. You gotta do Thin Lizzy next. You gotta do
man.
Thin Lizzy eras.
Yeah, like Eric Bell. I love Eric Bell. Guy, that's a guitar player, doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't, but
he has.
I think it's because the other Lizzy eras are just awesome.
Rush, like the first 3 Thin Lizzy albums is like the Rush's first album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except in a jar.
Yeah.
But genius band, and they toured together. Rush and Thin Lizzy. They did shows together.
No way.
Played the Capitol Theater in Portchester in 19.
I heard that.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw a billboard for it. But it could have been the one in New Jersey. But somebody I knew, an old hippie, said he saw that show. It's crazy that I used to work with in Grand Union. So, but we're probably gonna get cut off. So thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
knowledge from you, and we'll definitely have you back, and we'll do the top 10 Rush songs.
Rush songs.
Sorry
Nice.
about
That's a
that.
hard one.
It'd be even harder than this.
I don't know if I